Good day, class. Today we are going to consider the derivation of the Slutsky equation. Now, you cannot solve or you cannot derive the Slutsky equation without knowing what a Marshallian demand function is, without knowing what a Hicksian demand function is, or without knowing what the ordinary demand function or the compensated demand function is. So now, the Slutsky equation, now, it is rooted in the fact that a small change in price along an ordinary demand function or along a Marshallian demand function can be decomposed into the substitution effect and the Iorun effect. So in essence, total effect in price, the total effect in the change in price of a particular commodity is caused by substitution effect and then the Iorun effect. So now the Slutsky equation is a combination of substitution effect and the Iorun effect. So how can you derive it? How can you derive it? If you don't know what a Marshallian demand function is or how to derive it, just watch my previous videos using the Roy's identity and the Shepard's lemma. And now these videos will guide you on how to get the Marshallian demand function and the Hicksian demand function. So now, a Hicksian demand function for x is a function of p of x, p of y, and the utility. That's with Hicksian demand function. This is equal to the Marshallian demand function, which is the price of x, price of y, and income. In essence, the Hicksian demand function is a function of price and utility, while the Marshallian demand function is a function of price and income. Note that the total income of a consumer is estimated at a point where income is equal to expenditures. In that case, the expenditure function, which is E, is a function of price of x and y and utility. So in that case, we are going to substitute the income with E and the E as a function of Px, Py, and Pu. So we are going to have the Hicksian demand function, which is a function of Px, Py, and U will be equal to x as a function of Px, Py, then E as a function of Px, Py, and U. We are using M to be equal to E. Income equals expenditure, and the expenditure function is a function of Px, Py, and Pu. That is a function of prices and utility. So now, I'm going to take the partial derivative of x with respect to Px. X with respect to Px here, and E with respect to Px. In that case, the partial derivative of x as a Hicksian demand function with respect to price of x is now equal to the partial derivative of x with respect to the partial derivative of Px plus as product rule the partial derivative of x with respect to E, x with respect to E, times the partial derivative of E with respect to Px. Now, according to the envelope theory, the derivative of an objective function with respect to the price of a particular commodity is equal to the commodity itself. Now, the commodity is X. The objective function in this case is the expenditure function. But the partial derivative of E with respect to PS is equal to X envelope theory, because E is the objective function in this case. So now, the partial derivative of the Hicksian demand function over Px is now equal to the partial derivative of x with respect to Ps plus the partial derivative of x all over the partial derivative of E times x. Now, E is equal to M. Expenditure equal to M. Income. We are going to replace this E with M. We have the partial derivative of the Hicksian demand function over the price of X is equal to the partial derivative of X with respect to the price of X plus partial derivative of X with respect to income times X. So now at this point, we are going to rearrange in such a way that we have this as a subject. In that case, we have the partial derivative of the Hicksian demand function with respect to the price of X. Take this to the left hand side, we have negative the derivative of X with respect to income X plus. Then we take this to the right hand side, to the left. What we have on the left hand side is the partial derivative of X with respect to Px. This can be written as the partial derivative of X with respect to Px is equal to the partial derivative of the Hicksian demand function with respect to Ps minus the partial derivative of X with respect to the partial derivative of income times X. So now this is the Slutsky equation. Here, this is the total effect as a result of that. They say that a small change in price along an ordinary demand function. This is the ordinary demand function because this is a Hicksian demand, the Marshallian demand function can be decomposed into substitution effect. Substitution effect and income effect. So now this is what is called the Slutsky equation. A small change in the price of a commodity along an ordinary demand function is now decomposed into the substitution effect and the income effect. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, share, and comment, and keep on reaching out to me for more complicated areas and concepts to be clarified. So